Everybody. Welcome to the webinar. I'm so excited. Happy free training today. Masterclass. So good. Look at all you hopping on here. I am thrilled that you're here. So much learning today. I have a lot. Okay, you guys better have your pens ready and hot to go because we got a lot to cover today. It's going to be so awesome, so helpful. And I want to celebrate you. It's going to take a minute. Everyone's coming on. Zoom is just collecting everybody. It's taking a little bit of time to get everyone on. So before we get started, I want to just celebrate you for being here. Like really, truly. You are taking time out of your day to be here, and that's amazing. So way to go. Way to prioritize yourself. I'm so thrilled that you're here. I'm so thrilled you're doing that. So as you get ready for this webinar, I want you just to give yourself a whole bunch of love and appreciation for being here, taking this time, all of that. So to get the most out of this webinar, I want you to put your phones away, put it on vibrate or whatever, even just putting them away for an hour. You're going to be fine. And then I want you to just embrace anything that's coming up for you. Okay, and one of the things that I say, and anytime you listen to what I'm saying, anything that comes to you, just write it down kind of quickly, and then you can go back to it later. Don't get distracted by it, but be like, oh, that was something. Oh, that was something. Okay, and you kind of give yourself that opportunity, but don't get distracted. Just stay with us. You know that all these recordings go back into, I send them to you on your email, and then you can also find them on YouTube. Which, by the way, you need to tell your friends about my YouTube channel, or if you haven't already, go subscribe, because once I get a certain number, then more people find out about it. So I encourage you to do that. Okay, you ready? Let's do it. Now, I did promise I'm wearing some very fun pants today. These are some of my most favorite pants. I bought them when I went to Quilt Market back when we could fly. And it was super fun. And I was in the lineup for Quilt Spree, and Rob Appel, he came by and he was like, woo, look at those pants. So I got a shout out from him on those pants. So that was kind of fun. All right, so who's ready to learn? Let's do this. So today we are going to talk about the top 5 reasons why doubt is actually the prerequisite to success. So it's kind of an interesting topic, but I have studied a lot about doubt, and we're going to go into this, and you're going to learn about things in a way that you probably haven't thought of it before. So I'm really excited that you're here and you're taking this time for you. So I want you just in the chat, what dreams have you achieved? So some of you in here, I see some of you have reached some pretty amazing quilting goals. I think there's a Paducah winner. I think there's a Canadian ribbon winner in here. There are women in here who have achieved some pretty amazing dreams. And so it's okay to toot your own horn. Let me just get the chat open so you can put it in there. So I want you to think about, so just in your mind, even let's say you always dreamed about getting married, or let's say you always dreamed about having kids, or let's say you always dreamed about having a house of your own, or let's say you had a dream, you always dreamed about having an education, or you had having a car. Oh my goodness, when I was young, I thought having a car was the best thing in the world, which it actually is. And every day I go in my car, I think, oh, I'm so fortunate. I have a car. It's so awesome. I can just go anywhere I want. It's so crazy. Okay, so in the chat, you can put, what dreams have you achieved? Now, I want you to get curious. What was the path from having a dream to actually making that dream come true? So as you're thinking about it, I want you to think, what was my path from getting my dream to come true? Now, this is where we get interesting. What dreams do you want? So you can put them in the chat if you want, or you can just keep them to yourself. It's totally fine. But what dreams do you want? So I'm going to take some guesses because I know you out there. So probably eating without a lot of drama. What about feeling good about yourself? What about feeling confident, being able to trust yourself? What about having good relationships with family and friends? What about no stress about money? Wouldn't that be fun? What about quilt aspirations? What if you do have a dream of having a certain quilt, making a certain, oh, here we go. No stress about money, can survive without sugar and flour by following Dara. Yes. So what about a certain vacation that you want? Like what dreams do you want? Do you even let yourself dream? Like really? Okay. What do you usually do to achieve those dreams? So if you're thinking about dreams that you want to achieve, that you haven't achieved, what have you usually done? Because if you haven't achieved them yet, it's because you haven't figured it out. So do you go on a diet? Do you speak harshly to yourself so you'll shape up? Do you use a lot of discipline? Do you try to like, what is usually the way that you try to go about gaining your dream? So procrastination is usually like, I haven't figured it out yet. I'm going to do this thing before I do that. So you kind of allow yourself to get overwhelmed. Is there a perfectionism thing that's happening for waiting for the right moment? Like what usually happens when you're trying to achieve a dream? Get curious. Oh, want to go to Disney? I know, Nancy. And I want you to take me with you because I've never actually been to Disney. So why doesn't that work? So what we talked about, why? Because let's just talk about diets for a moment because that's my specialty. Well, the problem is that diets are a temporary fix. And you don't understand why you're eating X, Y, and Z. You think that when it's over, once you get to the certain number on the scale, then you can relax and things can go back to normal. So you end up gaining all that weight back again. You blindly following along. So you're just kind of doing what they say. You have zero ownership about it. You're kind of blindly following and not having any sort of ownership to this. The other part about the problem with diets is that it's outside of your control. You feel like if you don't do what they say, then you're going to be in trouble. So then it puts you into victim mentality. And when you go into victim mentality, then the diet actually becomes a villain because or if you're a victim, there's always going to be a villain. And so that's definitely what's happening there. So you don't understand why you're eating. So I put down, a lot of us turn to food as comfort. So the problem with that is we actually aren't even spending time with our emotions. And so we're using food as a crutch that we don't even realize that we're using the food for. So we don't actually realize what the emotional issues are. And so we're going further and further away from what's the real issue. And then this is probably one of my favorite parts, is there's a rebellion cycle. So you go to this diet because you're like, you feel so terrible about yourself and you're like, well, I need to go and have somebody tell me what to do because you're kind of in this victim mentality. You're not really, you don't feel any ownership. You're not in control of any of it. And they're like, someone has to tell you what to do. And they're telling you what to do it over and over and over. So you're like a child and you're just doing it. And then after a while of someone telling you what to do all the time, you can't handle it anymore, all that white knuckling. And so then there's like rebellion. And we all know what rebellion is. It's like binge eating, just whatever's in the pantry, just splurge, just like I'll eat whatever I want. No one's going to tell me what to do. And so now we've gone to a rebellion. And then of course, after you've done that for a while, you feel really, really bad, really, really gross. So then you're like, well, I guess somebody's going to have to tell me what to do. And that is not serving them at all. Okay. So that's why diets don't work. Now let's go a little bit into this negative self-talk. So many of us believe, like, well, especially because we're treating ourselves like a child. So when we say, well, you better smarten up, you better pull up your boots by the bootstrap, and just like, come on, shape up, let's do this. The problem with the negative self-talk, not only does it actually affect us hormonally, but it affects our hormones. So if we have a lot of shame, we produce less estrogen. And if we have a lot of blame, we produce more estrogen than we need. And so we have all of those hormonal imbalances in our body. But we're not connecting with our emotions. So we're not really being our authentic selves. And our emotions, we're going to talk a little bit about this. So then we are not our thoughts. So we literally have 60,000 thoughts a day, and we don't have to believe them all. They just come to us. Like, we have advertisements, right? Advertisements, they want to plant thoughts into our head. Like, they want us to think that if you're skinny, then your life will be better, because they want you to spend money on their weight loss products. Okay. So we've got lots of stuff inundated. So we have 60,000 thoughts a day, but we are not our thoughts. We can decide what thoughts we want to keep and what thoughts we want to reject. We also have this entitlement issue of, like, we think that if we're doing everything right, then everything should be fine. But really, to have a healthy, balanced life, we need to have 50% negative and 50% positive. So having the 50 negative doesn't mean that anything has gone wrong. It just means that you're a regular human being, having a regular, balanced human life. So this is the part. So emotions are actually there to inform us of what's going on. Feelings are vibrations. So I wanted to get this a little bit more technical for people. The brain signals to different organs to release hormones or chemicals based on our thoughts we are thinking. So I'm going to break this down a little bit for you, because I talk about this a lot. I say emotions are literally just vibrations in our body. That's it. So for example, this is already happening. We just don't have as much awareness of it, I don't think, as because we don't really learn about this. And they're starting to do this more in school. Like, my kids are starting to learn more of this. So for example, if we feel stressed, what response do you have? Right. Your heart starts beating faster. Your eyes literally see better because they're looking for danger. They're scanning. This is our survival brain kicks in. And then we have this fight, flight, or freeze, because we perceive that there's something very life-threatening. So we have a stressful thought, and our body releases chemicals, and our heart starts to beat, our eyes see better, our breath is faster, because if we have to run, we have to be ready. Okay. But let's say when we have joy, so if we see a baby and we're like, oh, this baby is so beautiful, what response do we have? We relax, we smile, we are so attentive. Some of us, if we've had a baby or are currently having a baby, we could have a letdown, almost if a baby's crying, we could feel our milk kind of comes, we're oh, we got to feed this baby. We can still have that reaction. Okay. So the thing that's interesting about this process, this is always happening, right? This is how we're wired. So dopamine and serotonin feel amazing. And we're yes, we want all the dopamine and serotonin possible. It's give it to us. But cortisol and adrenaline don't always feel so great. Some people actually kind of depend on adrenaline. That's why they procrastinate and they do a project at the last minute, because they're I need that adrenaline to get me going so I can finish this. So some people they have this love-hate relationship with it, but really afterwards they're drained and strained. They're I'm never going to do that again. Okay. We'll talk a little bit about procrastination in a moment. So, but that feels terrible. So listen, chemicals circulate causing us to feel. And this is what happens to us. So sometimes we can feel a tightness. Sometimes we can feel a buzz, or we can feel heat, tenseness, queasiness, or throbbing. Now, these literally are just steering us to survive or thrive. Now, what happens when we block the emotions? I like to say is emotions are literally just tapping us on the shoulder saying, hey, by the way, did you notice that you should be happy right now? Oh, hey, but did you notice that this is kind of stressful? Hey, did you notice that you're frustrated? You should probably do something. We gotta change some things. Literally, emotions are there just to get our back. They're here you are, we're good, or we're not good, or you should listen, this is happening. And so now we have a new awareness, okay? Now, so we talked about diets because we have a dream, like we want to fulfill all our dreams. And today's webinar is all about the 5 reasons why self-doubt or doubt are the precursors for success. And I'm building up to that. So, but right now what I'm showing you is why have you not fulfilled all the dreams that you have created for yourself? Whatever age you are, whatever stage you are in life, why? I mean, there's lots of dreams that you have. I'm sure of it. Like if we went down, there's like amazing women on here. You've created a lot of dreams for yourself. But I like to ask my clients, or anyone, do you believe that you're living the life that you're meant to live? Like, are you living what you really want to be living right now? Do you believe that about yourself? Because if you're not, if you haven't achieved the goal that you want for your weight, well, probably because you did a lot of that diet kind of stuff. Okay, you got yourself into trouble there. Probably with a negative self-talk, and I kind of explained that. This is another one that I see most of my clients, all of my clients actually deal with. This is a huge one. I call it the triple P: perfectionism, people pleasing, and procrastination. And so this triple P, so what the problem is that we're very concerned about what others think. And the problem is we think that our worth comes from what other people say about us or what other people think about us. This is a problem that so many of us, and we're going to talk about failure in a moment. And so the other problem with the triple P is we're afraid of failure. So we're worried about what they say or how we'll be perceived. So if we're showing a quilt block or sharing a show and tell, how often are you held back by really sharing because you're worried about what other people are going to say? They're going to notice that one little thing. See, the problem is that we haven't figured out, just because we haven't figured out something and you don't want to mess up. And we're so worried about what other people say because we have this misconception that our value and our worth is based on what other people say, what other people think. And so we're robbing ourselves from the opportunity of growth so that we can achieve eventually that quilt. We eventually can accomplish that size of body and keep that weight off because we're holding ourselves back in this way. Okay. All right. So how do we overcome this? Well, this is one of my favorite things to teach, and it's part of my weight loss program. I actually teach my clients about how to fail and be totally fine with it. It's the best news. So I'm going to just teach a little bit about what does failure mean. Okay, so we're just going to take a few minutes. So if you were to define failure, how would you define it? Well, I have a definition right here. So failure is an omission of expected or required action. That's the definition of failure. So in other words, you're not doing what was required to achieve a certain result. That's all. So you actually didn't reach the requirements to achieve a certain result, or you didn't do something, or you did something that didn't work. So that's how you can interpret the definition of failure. Oh, so that's interesting. Now, the problem with that is we were all brought up, mostly all of us. Some of us might have been homeschooled or maybe had different a school system or something. But some of us, most of us, were brought up in a school system that said we need to avoid failure at all costs. Okay? Because the reason it said that is because there's a belief system of people who succeed are better than people who fail. But remember, what is the difference? What is the definition of failure? It literally is that you didn't do something that was required to achieve a certain result. So all you did was you're like, okay, I just didn't do a few things. Pardon me. Oh, pardon me. Or you did something that didn't work. So think about science. It's like, I have a hypothesis that I'd like to try out. That's all. But this is what we're basing our value or worth on. So if we have this belief system that people will succeed better than people who fail, the problem is failure means nothing about who you are. It literally is just saying there's something you did or you didn't do. That's all. So I kind of drew this out for you. So here we have an idea. And so we're like, I know, I want to do something. Okay, by the way, can I just offer, can any of you please figure out a stitch ripper, like how to unstitch something without using a stitch ripper? Like you could have magical something that would unpick a bunch of stitches, okay? I want someone to invent that, by the way. Wouldn't that be amazing? Okay, so you have a idea like an automatic stitch ripper. Incredible, right? Unquilting, I think some people call it. And then, so you have an idea, you take some actions that you think would work, and then you get a result. So many of us think that it should be a linear, simple, no problem kind of thing. But realistically, what usually is the process of having an idea and getting the result? Absolutely. So this was the way that it got there. But usually it's, okay, I'm going to try this one thing. That didn't work. Oh, there's some success. I'm going to try some more things. I'm going to try some more. I'm going to do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. Adjust. Oh, look, I'm making some progress. So you've made progress, but this has taken a bit of a side thing because you had to figure out how to get to that progress. And then you're like, okay, I have 2 things that work. And now we're going to have a little bit more. And then we have some progress. And then you try something, we have some more progress. And then we go down again, wandering around, figuring things out, trial and error. It's not a problem because eventually we will get our desired result. But it's not always in the way that we thought. So as I'm illustrating this and as I'm describing this, I really want to invite you to think about it in your mind of the very first question I asked you. What dreams have you created? People are, they didn't share their dream, but even like going to Disney, that's a dream, right? So think about the dreams that you have created. So even going to Disney, like Nancy, by the way, going to Disney is like her favorite thing in the world. And so think about what you did to create that experience of going to Disney and how you got to go to Disney and how you made all of those things happen. Okay. You didn't just have an idea, let's go to Disney, and then you got there. There was lots of different steps in the way. Okay, so we're going to keep talking about failure because this is probably something that a lot of people are like, I don't want to talk about failure, head in the sand, right? That's okay. You're human. And you were conditioned at school to believe that people who failed are bad, people who succeeded are good. So it was just in your conditioning, that's all. Nothing has gone wrong. And not everyone's experience is the same. I'm just saying, generally speaking, this is how it's gone. But there's 2 different kinds of failures. Did you know that? The first kind of failure is failures because you didn't try. I have not tried paper. I tried paper piecing like once or twice and I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. I am not very interested in paper piecing. And so the reason I failed at paper piecing is I haven't really tried. That's all. And the other kind of failure is tried something we're not good at yet. Oh my goodness. I was not very good at free motion quilting when I first started free motion quilting. Oh my goodness, I was terrible at it. But I was like, you know what? I really, really want to quilt my own quilts and how I want to quilt them. And I don't like going to the free motion quilter. I don't like a panto. And I didn't even really know about custom so much then. So I decided that it was worth me growing and it was worth me stretching and it was worth me examining when I did things is like what worked and what didn't work. This is what I have my clients do. I'm like, hey, guess what? you can create a different relationship with food. You actually are going to write your own protocol, and then I'm going to help you grow, stretch, and examine what worked, what didn't work. There are some of my clients who will go for weeks at a time and they won't lose any weight. And I'm like, hey, let's grow, let's stretch, let's examine what worked, what didn't work. No big deal. So, you know the famous story about Thomas Edison, who developed the light bulb. He didn't say he failed 10,000 times. He said it took him 10,000 steps. That's what it took. So when we're learning about weight loss, which is definitely my specialty, we are learning that there's lots of things going on, and we can just, we have a process. I have, like, here is where you start, and here's where we go to. And a lot of times it's like this. I have a client right now in my group, and she's struggling a lot with her family. And so she's not as involved with the group. And so it's like, okay, we're just going to go on a detour. So do we just apply the tools on our own? Do we get help from the coach? Like what is the path? And I trust my clients to know that what they need to do is they need to do. And I'm always there to help them. It's so beautiful. I love my clients unconditionally. It is such a beautiful experience. Okay. So this is where we really get into the juice of what we're talking about today. So we talked about where do you want to be, where you are right now, why you haven't achieved where you want to be, and we're talking about how do we get that result, okay? So why doesn't work? So diets don't work, negative thoughts don't work, people-pleasing, perfectionism, and procrastination doesn't work. And so what do we need to do? So we need to embrace failure. So today we're talking about embracing failure, and then I'm going to apply this eventually to how my program is going to answer all of this for you. And so today I'm going to talk to you. We're going to continue to work on doubt, because I want you to know that if you are feeling doubt, there are 5 reasons why doubt is the perfect indicator that you're ready for permanent change. Did you know that? For growth. Okay. So that's what we're going to be working through right now. Successful people embrace self-doubt. Isn't that fascinating? So one of the problems and one of the misconceptions we have in this world is that successful people are super confident and they would never have any room for self-doubt. Why do you think we think that? Why do you think that happens in our mental state? I need to see the chat. Why do you think we have that misunderstanding that successful people never have doubt? I want you to weigh in on that. Why do you think we think that? Because they don't let the doubt affect them. Absolutely. Yeah. So they also recognize that growth means that they have to become a next version of themselves. So I like to think about our apps that we have now on our phones. So someone will come up with an idea and they say, oh, wouldn't that be cool if we could, I remember when apps were first really becoming a thing, and I worked at a quilt shop, and this lady came in, a young woman, and she said, oh, you have Tula pink here. And I said, oh yeah, we have all this. She said, I have an app. So she literally had an app that calculated how much Tula, like how much meter, how many like yardage of all the different Tula prints. So when she came into the shop, she could know like how much she already had. And so when she was buying, she would be able to input that. And so she could keep a record. So somebody had this amazing idea. Let's build an app with all the Tula fabric. And, but as people started using it, there was probably some bugs and snags. And they, instead of them saying, you know what, I am terrible. I'm a horrible human. I've made some mistakes, and embrace the self-doubt. They're like, oh, perfect. Let's keep working on it. So that is what happens with successful people. They're like, of course I'm going to have some flaws. That's part of my evolution. It's not a problem. So they're willing to feel negative emotion because the positive is worth it. They're like, I'm so committed to having a Tula Pink app that everyone can use. It's going to be so user-friendly. It's going to be so awesome that I'm totally fine with, you know, putting it out there in the world thinking there could be some problems with this app, and that's okay. So I want you to internalize this for you. So for example, if you are thinking about, you know, should I join this program? Should I like share, like, because there's quite a few on here that are already my existing clients. You know, am I keeping myself back? Am I like, you know, am I really embracing everything? Am I giving myself this opportunity to do the thought downloads and all of the stuff, right? There's some self-doubt of like, how much do I do? And am I really capable of this? Is this just for other people? Like, I want you to be so honest with yourself. So the other part about this concept, the very first thing about self-doubt is when we say successful people embrace it, the thing that what they've realized is that there are so many different escape routes that people will take, but literally it's just different flavors of misery. So when I think about this, let's say that you doubt yourself on half square triangles, and you're like, I'm just not very good at half square triangles. I'm not very precise. But the problem is, so now the only time you get a quilt pattern, it can't have any half square triangles. And you're like, oh man, you kind of like are limiting yourself of all the different options of quilting things you can do, because half square triangles are like a really big deal. So you could do a lot of strip piecing. And in fact, that's what I do a lot of, strip piecing and simple kind of piecing. But you're never going to be able to go to that next level until you really figure out those half square triangles. And all it would take is just you learning how to, you could watch a couple different YouTube videos. You can talk to other quilters. You can get the, what's it called? What is those special cutters again? I mean, the rulers with the beveled edge. I went to one of their workshops at Quilt Market. What is that? Come on, help me out, ladies. It's your, you know what I mean, for half square triangles to square them up. They're so awesome. They're expensive, but they're so worth it. You could get one of those. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's like a ruler. You put it over top. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Nancy. A lock block. You could buy a lock block. You can invest in those. You can be like, oh, okay. You can watch, like Lisa talks about starching. That's a game changer, right? Lisa Bonjean. So there's lots of strategies, because the problem is if you say, nope, I'm not going to have square triangles, then you're actually limiting yourself. And you're never really facing it head on. So that's self-doubt. You're like, yeah, okay, I've got some self-doubt, but these are all my problems. So the other part is you're no longer entitled to have it easy. You're like, hey, if I want to have beautiful quilts with gorgeous half square triangles, I don't think that everything should be easy. I'm okay to embrace it. So how often do we do this for ourselves? It's like, hey, this weight loss thing is so annoying. I've lived this long. I shouldn't have to have this problem anymore. Guess what? We can just build a muscle. We can just learn from all our past errors. I don't even believe they're errors. Clearly perfect slotted trimmers. Oh, I've never even heard of those. But like, honestly, when I have clients that come to me who say, I've tried all the things, I'm like, perfect. So now we have this huge list of like shakes don't work, supplements don't work, Weight Watchers doesn't work, Slim whatever, Slim Fast doesn't work, all Jenny Craig. Yes, okay, perfect. Now we know it doesn't work, and let's look at all the reasons why it didn't work. And now let's really learn why it didn't work and apply it to us now, because now we can have so much more data for creating the protocol that is going to work. All right, the next step of why self-doubt is the precursor for guaranteed results is that we can learn now to identify, hey, I'm having self-doubt. Because when we hide in the sand, we put our head in the sand, we have no awareness. And so when we have no awareness, oh yeah, not yet. Okay, we identify the doubt, okay? So it's not so scary anymore. We're like, oh, here I am having some self-doubt. Okay, you're open to it. Oh, here we go. Now we can be honest with ourselves. So same thing with my clients. I ask them, I'm like, what's going on? Tell me what's happening. Because the more honest you can be, then you're like, okay, here it is in my face. I can now really work through it. If you keep dodging it, you're not going to be able to get the results that you want. So if people don't share, if you're not being honest with what's really going on, then you can't actually find the solution. And then this is my favorite part. And every step of my process totally does this. You actually take 100% responsibility for yourself. So when you identify doubt, you take responsibility for your feelings. And just currently in my group, we did module 10, and we talked about emotional adulthood. And that concept alone teaches us that nobody can make us feel anyway. And I teach you the process of becoming completely responsible for yourself 100% of the time. It is one of my favorite tools that I teach all my clients. And the more that they can embrace it, the more that their life just totally becomes whatever they want it to be. And I love being the example of that because I have created more than I ever imagined. And it is so exciting because I'm always responsible for how I feel, no matter what. Doesn't mean my life is a cakewalk because I'm not entitled to believe that everything is going to be wonderful and great. But I've embraced that 50-50 in such a powerful way that I know that I can create anything. So the next step we have is the perception of the obstacle. So if you are feeling like I have so many things that are just so difficult, you actually start identifying the flavor of your self-doubt. So that's why we have this triple decker of ice cream cone. So this is what I love. Dreams expose our doubts. So in my group, I say to my clients, I said, whatever I'm saying right now, if there's like a twinge of discomfort, if there is like a portion of that's like really like your hairs are going up and you're feeling like really like, what is she saying? I'm like, lean into that because that is a great teacher. Byron Katie, she talks about if you are saying things about another person that you don't, that's really irritating you, put it on yourself. It's not always my favorite thing to do, but it's so true. And the more willing you can perceive those obstacles and be open to it, the more success you're going to have. I love giving the analogy. If your house is a mess and you're like, oh, my house is such a mess, this is so annoying. You're like, turn the lights off. We're just going to turn the lights off and then I don't have to see the mess anymore. But what happens when you walk around a messy house with the lights off? You just bump around. You stub your toe, you fall over, you trip. It's terrible. So the more we can turn the lights on and see the messy house, that's like our thoughts, right? We have all these terrible thoughts, but if we buffer by eating lots of ice cream or going on social media all the time or finding excuses and blaming other people, we never then get to have the learning and growth from our thoughts. And the interesting part about it is our thoughts create our feelings drive our actions, and our actions give us our result. So our thoughts eventually always go into our result line. So if we're not checking our thoughts, we're having all these crazy results and we're like, I don't know why my life is a train wreck. I don't know why I'm having all these problems. It's because you're not being aware of your thoughts. That's where they started. It's like a seed. Your thoughts are like a seed, and then they give you a feeling. So then that's some fertilizer. And then that feeling generates all your actions. So that's like the sun and all of that. And it grows and grows and grows. And then all of a sudden you have this result. And you're like, I don't even know where that came from. But we actually do know where it came from. It came from your thought, which, by the way, we have 60,000 thoughts a day. And we don't always have to keep those thoughts. We can edit them. We can delete them. We can get rid of them. Okay. And that's what I teach you to do. The next thing about self-doubt I want to tell you is you need to doubt your doubts, not your goals. How many people say, oh, this isn't working, change the goal? So when I teach free motion quilting and I teach about tension, I have a method that I learned, and it's TNT. So first you rethread the thread. So you just take the thread out, you rethread it. Then you try the quilting. If the problem hasn't been solved, then you go to the next stage. You change your needle. So you change the needle and then you quilt and you see if it's solved the problem. So you do one thing, check it. Do another thing, check it. And the third step is then you change your tension. So you take it down to 0 and you start experimenting. So what happens though if you just I have a tension problem. You're like, I'm going to change the thread. I'm going to change the needle. I'm going to try messing around with my tension. No, you don't actually ever solve the problem. It's the same thing here. You need to start doubting your doubts, not your goals. So remember, we have a goal, we have an idea, and we want to get a result. We think it should be a certain way. Just like Thomas Edison, it took him 10,000 steps to create the light bulb. How often are we letting ourselves do that for ourselves? So setting a goal helps us grow and evolve into that desired version of ourselves, right? The lady who said, I want to make an app that calculates all of our Tula Pink stock, inventory. So she's like, I have a goal, but there's going to be some bugs. And she's like, I don't care. I'm not going to doubt my goal. I really want to make this app, but I've got some doubts, and that's okay. It's okay. I'm just going to doubt my doubts. That's fine, but I'm not going to doubt my goal. So we created it in our minds. So doubts come from our minds. So guess what? We can turn the lights on and we can learn from those. And like I said, you have to embrace that discomfort, and it's totally fine. It's like, I've never been a person who made an app. I've never been a person who lost weight easily. I've never been a person that kept the weight off. I wasn't that person. The only way that I lost weight was I had to run like a crazy woman. I had to run and run and run. And I had to do there's a lot of constraint and a lot of all sorts of things. And then it would come back on, and then it would go off. And then I'd go run like a crazy woman and get all my 5 kids and get every stroller and all of that. And now I'm thinner than I ever thought I could be. And I love myself more than I ever could be. Even if you go on my YouTube channel at the beginning, I started in 2019 and I was filming videos for my long arm quilting business. I was supporting long armers. And I remember when we took those videos and I weighed about 170 pounds, I was thrilled. I couldn't believe how good I felt. And now I weigh like 150. And I didn't even try to lose that 20 pounds. I didn't. I just was loving my life, loving who I was, and just working through all of it. And when I wasn't loving, because I'm always having self-doubt, I was like, no problem, self-doubt, no big deal. And now I weigh 150 pounds. It's crazy. Okay? Because I didn't doubt my goals, I doubted myself. And I just allowed myself to have the lights on to all those negative thoughts and all those crazy thoughts that didn't serve me. I'm like, oh, let's investigate that. Let's see what's going on. I wasn't afraid of it. I was like, okay, yeah, that's not a thought that I want to keep. Let's work through that. Why did I get that thought? Was it because something my mom said? Was it just an old belief system that didn't serve me? Oh, I should probably clean that up. I don't have to be afraid of that anymore, okay? The next step is we're going to decide what you want to believe. You want what you want, and then you decide to believe it. This is a very silly example. So I've been married for 20 years. Here's my wedding ring. And I said to my husband yesterday, or the day before, I said, I love this wedding ring. I love it. I didn't think when I was picking it 20 years ago, I would love it. And I had this thought, it's because you decide every day that you love it. Every day I decide, I love this wedding ring. I love that we chose this. I love it. And I just decide every day. Okay. So you decide what you want, and then you get to action in paving the way. You're like, all right, let's go for it. You go to your future self. This is something I teach a lot in my program. Because when you were learning to tie shoes, I love to give this example, and your kindergarten teacher or your mom or your grandma said, hey, honey, we're going to learn how to tie shoes. You're like, no, sorry. I've never tied shoes before. I'm just not a tie shoer. I'm just going to wear Velcro and slide-ons. No, we didn't say that. We're like, oh, okay, let's do it. And we failed miserably, I'm sure, most of us. And we're like, well, I'm just going to keep working on this. I'm going to create some strategies. I'm going to watch this again. I'm going to practice. I'm going to get this. I'm just going to keep working on it. I think the reason I go to the shoes, because I do actually remember what it was like to learn to tie my shoes. And I remember thinking, I never thought I could be this person. I never thought I could be so fancy and tie shoes. I was in preschool. Yeah. And now it's like, I tie shoes like a champ. Okay. We're going to knock down the dominoes. So for example, I remember one of my clients posting a picture of her grandma and her sisters. And she said, this is why I'm working with you, because I want to reverse this. So many of us have myths about weight loss. And last week I taught the myth busters on weight loss. And really, genetics don't really have that much to do with weight loss. There's like a fat gene that can be there, but they've done so much research about it. It was mostly just a gene that it's FTL if you want to research it, but they've done so much research about it that really it's not impactful. So we got to knock down our own dominoes of self-doubt. And the more that we stay committed to our goal, we're like, yeah, I'm just doing this. I'm just going for it. And so I love this. You just edit your own app. So do you see now why self-doubt is the prerequisite for growth? You're like, yes, let's do this, self-doubt. Come for the ride. Let's go for it. So when you allow doubt, you will grow into that version of yourself. You're like, of course I have doubt. I never tied shoelaces before. I never did. Of course, this is normal, okay? And we went through those 5 steps. Now, these are the skills these are the skills now that you have achieved because you understand about failure and you understand about doubt. So you learn to fail. You learn to failure. You learn failure. You learn what that's about. You recognize and process your emotions. You're conscious of your thoughts. So these are all the skills. You decide which thoughts are going to stay and which ones are to go. Remember, we have 60,000 thoughts a day, so we can decide, I like that one, I don't like that one. Goodbye, see you, welcome, right? We get to decide what thoughts are going to stay and what's going to go. We work towards a goal. We're like, yes, I have the goal, but maybe I have to take a detour. That's okay. It's not a problem, because this is where I learn. You embrace the doubt. You focus on a goal, and you're like, obstacles are just learning opportunities. That's really what they are. And in the very first week of my program, I teach you obstacles and strategies. It's so effective. I actually also teach you how to look at goals. We have clean goals and dirty goals, and we work through that. I talk about that all the time. Okay. You also learn to create how to create long-lasting change. So it was really fun for me to see my clients who, like, their automatic pilot now has changed. So what they used to do, they used to freak out all day about a certain email. They can handle it in like 20 minutes and be done with it, and doesn't plague them over and over. It's beautiful. You also gain confidence because you have a process for change. You're like, I know how to solve problems. And then you also this is probably my favorite skill, is that you become 100% responsible for yourself and for your results. So the result of these skills that you learn, just even from self-doubt that I'm just teaching you, is that you actually become the life you want, because you become the designer of your life. So when you can understand failure and when you can embrace self-doubt, you can then become a person that designs your own life, no matter what. Okay? So my program, when you apply my process, the very first section, the first 4 weeks, is weight loss science is simple. So you understand the science, not memorize facts. You become scientists. You gather data. You know how to manipulate the data, and you're always responsible for your results. Then you create your perfect protocol. You apply the rules. We measure out and test the rules. We go on vacation and change the routines. It's not a problem because you created your own protocol. It's not Dara's protocol that I prescribed for you. You are 100% responsible for your results. It's our bodies change when we lose weight. So now your protocol might get a little, because you're like, oh, I don't have as much fat to dine in on. But you can change it because you understand the weight loss science so well. Then we have a brain and body connection. Remember how I talked about emotions? I tap you on the shoulder, they release chemicals. So it's already happening. So hormones are influenced by our thoughts, not the other way around. We are wired for this. We refine the process so it works for us, and we're 100% in control. Then we learn in my program, goal, fail, goal. So you misunderstand the concept of failure. We have perfectionism is a roadblock. We go to our past. That's a problem. We don't do that anymore. We collecting evidence. So we then change our relationship with failure. And so then we can create goals in a new way. So I like to talk about, we used to think about something in one way. So we are the defendant, and now we're becoming the prosecutor. So we like to see things in a new way. Then we create this permanent change for our future. So we discover our thoughts. We are able to find out our thought errors, and we have limited beliefs, and we think, oh, those things don't serve us. So what will you experience now when you create those skills? So this is what I wanted to, so that's the training for today. That is our training about the top 5 reasons why self-doubt is the prerequisite for success. Now, I want to talk to you about my program. This is the Love Yourself Thin program. And this program is $3,000. And you can sign up right now, and you can sign up darathomason.com/contact-LYT, or you can just email me and I can send you an invoice. So what you will learn in this program is the 5-step process. So we will go through it, 12 weeks, tried and true content, carefully created worksheets. So you'll not only get my content, but then you'll also get all the worksheets and all of that. So that is my program. Now, as I've been working this program, because a lot of quilters have shame, and they're not confident, they have past failures, I thought, how can I make my program serve people in the best way possible? Well, to solve the shame, I do my program as a group. And this group is other women who are quilters. And so we can take away the shame. We can also have a built-in support system. It is a beautiful thing. It is so lovely when they take advantage of it. And just them knowing that there are these other women that are in there is quite often just enough for them. Then we have weekly group coaching calls. So I want to help you, my group members, understand and apply the tools. So they get to watch me coach them or have the other people getting coached. So they can really start learning the tools that I'm teaching. This Triple P has been such a problem for so many women that I created the Perfection Recovery, 12-step Perfection Recovery program. It is an absolutely beautiful program. I'm so proud of it. It's just unbelievable. It's amazing. And I have so many clients are like, it's kicking my belief systems, Dara. It's like breaking down all the barriers that they had for themselves. And so I've actually added that as a bonus. It's every Monday, and we do it together. and we go through the 12 steps, and we're just going to keep going. It is so powerful, and you get all the recordings to all of it. So you can go to the past ones, you can access that. So I've got that I really felt was helps them, and it's in a group setting as well. So we do it together, and it's actually, the way I do it is a workshop. So I'll say, I'll break down, okay, for the next 2 minutes, write everything about this. And so it's very interactive. It's such a powerful program. Now, as I've done I'm in my second round, and I actually have a third program, and then we'll have a fourth at the beginning of May. And so one of the things that I thought, so then I also have access to me. So we are in a private Facebook group so that they can get access to me. Obviously, I'm not awake 24/7, but I can always access the Facebook group, which I do regularly, and I can give you feedback. So these are what so those ones. And as I'm progressing with the program, and because of what I've seen, is I now have added this access to past archives. So when I had my one-on-one clients, every month we did a deep dive. And so now, starting this, so I have a round that you can join at right now. We had our first lesson yesterday. We're having our coaching call tomorrow. So you can actually pay today, get in, and you can get started. And so you will have access to these deep dives. So intermittent fasting and progesterone, estrogen. I had a specialist come in that was amazing. We have all sorts of how to lose weight consistently. I have my whole program there, deep dive into that, so many resources there. And so you will have access to these archives. And then I have now added office hours. So if there are certain issues that are very personal and you would like to have where it's not appropriate for a group setting, because one of the issues I know a lot with weight loss is women who have had been sexually molested, or have had they keep the weight on to avoid males' glances and those kinds of things. So some of those things aren't as appropriate in a group setting. And so I have now added this to my program. So my program has gone up to 3,000. It was 2,000, but to accommodate these extra, that's why I have added this extra price. So if you have been in my program before and you're thinking about joining again, this is an incredible bonus for you. So if you want to sign up now, I can shout you out on the call. If you want to join, you say it here, and I could just love to embrace that. And then the last thing that I've done as a bonus now is we have a client check-in 3 times, one-on-one with me. So we will have an intake meeting of really you have a worksheet in the first week about your goals. I will go over that with you. And then midsection, we will review those goals and see how they're going. And then we'll do a final at the end of the 3 months. Now, because this is 3 months, I say to my clients, it didn't take you 3 months to put all this weight on. And it's not going to take you 3 months to take it all off. And you're not going to stop with all the development. So the reason I have it 3 months is I want you to recommit to yourself every 3 months. And so that is my goal for my clients, is to keep going and to keep having this. And so I've added these extra bonuses for you. And so all of that you get for $3,000, and you can start immediately. You can get into that group. They're an amazing group of women. Many of them have been my one-on-one clients that have now transitioned into the group. It is so powerful and amazing. And the reason I did this is because I had such high demand for my one-on-one coaching spots that my price went up exponentially. And so I wanted to make my work very accessible to so many women. And so by me really focusing in on what my process is, I'm able to help so many more women to really accomplish this goal. So does anyone have any questions? I would love to answer anything. I know I was talking really fast because I really wanted to make sure that you got so much value out of coming today. My master classes are so incredible. I love the work that I do. I love how different it is and how game changing it is. I have women who have just changed everything in their life. I have one client, for example, this morning I was working with her, and she had a huge financial surprise, tons of taxes, way more than she imagined. And, really, really struggled, and just, it was incredible. By me helping her apply the tools and getting that, she was in such a completely different space in her body and her ability to problem solve. It's so much fun for me to see that. And it happens over and over and over again. The more that you invest your time and the more you invest your brain and in yourself, the more capable you are of solving any problem. So if you have any questions, I'd love you to put them in the chat. If there are questions that you have that you want to talk to me individually, I do have time this afternoon and this evening. You can also check my calendar, but you can ask me anything about the program. I'm totally here to help you. If you have friends or family that you know that could really benefit, I would love you to pass this on. It is such a strong message. My program is so game-changing that I really do want to make sure that everyone can hear about it. So I love when people refer me, because I just know what changes it creates in people's lives. So again, you can go to darathomason.com/contact and this -LYT, love yourself thin /. You can pay and you can go immediately into the Facebook group, where these women will embrace you and welcome you into the group. If you have any questions, you can ask me. I do have time this afternoon. This afternoon is fun. I have 2 interviews with previous clients who are actually in the group, and we're going to be talking about our experience. I have a really fun interview I just posted on YouTube. One of my clients from New Zealand. She has such a fun accent. And she talked about her experience of working with me, and it was so powerful. One of my favorite things that she said is, so she has lost 20 kilos, and which is a substantial amount of weight. And she still has more weight that she wants to lose. But she said, it doesn't matter. Because what she thinks of herself is so much more important than what other people think. And she has learned to get her own back. And then she said her kids are so happy with her because they got their mom back. She was so in her own head and struggling so much. And by working with me and applying these tools, she was able to really reconnect with who she really is. All right, ladies, our time is up. I would love to join you. I'd love you to join me in Love Yourself Thin, working with me in the group. This is totally available for you. I know 100% that when you apply these tools and you use the process, you will create more change in your life than you ever imagined. All right, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.